Well, here we are on our final night in Luray. I didn't think I was going to be able to do a video tonight. I didn't think I was going to be able to do a video tonight. But alas, the two people that were supposed to come today canceled. Or how do I put this? Properly? One person canceled. So one person contacted me today and said, "Hey, are you still in Luray? I'd love to meet with you." So I told him where I was. And then that person canceled like at 4 o'clock, right? No harm, no foul. Again, as I say with these meetings, it's pretty relaxed. One of the reasons I schedule them at 7 o'clock at night is because if you don't show up, I'm not really worried about it. Again, I don't go and meet you folks anywhere anymore. Like I tried that before. Like I would go out and meet people like at a restaurant or at a cafe. And the problem is then I had to drive there, then I had to buy a cup of coffee, and then if somebody didn't show up, it was a real pain in the ass. And then I started to have to think, do I really want to do this, right? And the more I think, do I really want to do this, the less likely it is that I'm going to do it. So what I decided now is as we're doing it, we just do it at 7 o'clock at night because we're almost always back by 7 o'clock, like regardless. Like I don't normally have to plan to be back by 7 o'clock at night. And if you meet at the RV park, then I'm here anyway. So basically, like I say, if you don't show up, then I can just come out and do a video or take a shower or do something else. No harm, no foul. But it's funny, like. This is what you don't do in life. This is like, see, what frustrates me is not that I'm really angry. It's not that I'm angry. It's that you see these maladaptive behaviors and you just realize how screwed these people are going to be. And why I get frustrated is you see, even though I'm only 39, a tad off of 40, the thing is I do realize I will be like 65 or 67 or 75, whatever the hell the retirement age will be by the time I get there. And the whole retirement system, Social Security and all that kind of stuff works off of the younger generation paying into it. So I get worried and frustrated is because I see how stupid the younger generation can be. And it's like, motherfuckers, if you don't pull your head out of your ass, you're not going to be able to pay my Social Security benefits in 30 years or whatever, And so that was the thing. So one person canceled. Again, no harm, no foul. That's why I set these things up at night, so if somebody cancels. But then the other person, they had set this up earlier. And I was like, okay, cool. And then I get this email from them, like a cryptic email from them saying, it was like I sent them something and said, yeah, I just want to make sure we're still on for 7 o'clock or whatever. And then I got this email back saying, I'll be there after 7. No, I'm sorry. No, I'm running late. No, I'll bring a 6-pack of beer. I'll be there after 7. And so I look at it and see, in the old days, I would have trusted people not to be asininely stupid. I've been doing this stuff for a little while now. So when you say after 7, see, that's the thing. Like, if I tell you after 7, one, I would be more specific, period. But even if I did just say something like after 7, I mean like 7:05 or 7:10 or 7:15, right? Because people are coming to meet me, and it's at least an hour meeting. So if I meet you at 7, that means 7 to 8. And then I want my bedtime tea, and I want to go watch my BBC show, and I want to get ready for tomorrow, because we've got a long haul tomorrow. So, like, if you come at 7, that's the thing, it's not like 7 and then a 7, but it's 7 to at least 8. It's an hour and a half. Like some of these meetings are an hour and a half, 2 hours sometimes, right? So 7 to 9. Well, then if you come at 7:30, that might be 7:30 to 9:30. If you come at 8, that'll be it, right? And so it's like, yeah. So when you'll be here, and then it's like around 8:30. And I just look at this email, and again, no, I'm sorry. No, I'll bring a 12-pack of beer. No, and it's just like one of these things. Like I don't understand with people, like. If we have an appointment for 7, then why do you think you can just show up at 8:30? Like, just like, I'll be there after 7. What does that mean? Oh, around 8:30 even. So it's not at 8:30. It might be fucking 8:45. And again, it's an hour meeting. And so it's like, at what point did you believe that this was just like A-okay acceptable? This is why you're having issues in life, buddy boy, buddy Z, buddy girl. You said, again, I'm not charging money for this. It's not like $300. And so it's like, oh, well, I'll wait an extra hour and a half because I'd like to get that $300 in my pocket. I mean, this is completely free. I sit down and talk with you about what the hell ever. I give you 20 years of experience-based advice. Again, CEOs pay me good money. Your bosses pay me good money to give advice, and I'm willing here just to talk. And again, right? So yeah, that's why I'm doing this video right now, because I didn't think I was going to be able to do the video tonight, because it's been a long day. We hiked up Big Rag. I think it's called Big Rag. Really cool mountain today. Shenandoah National Park. Awesome Shenandoah National Park. So we climbed up this thing, and it was hard getting up there because you hike up for a while and you're like, oh, this isn't bad, and then like the last third of it, bouldering doesn't even give it credit. It's like you're up there and your feet are all like contorted into different ways, and you're climbing up and down these rock faces and through crevices and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, we did that today, and that took us, I guess that was about a 6-hour hike. And there was an hour commute. That's one thing with this being out in the wilderness. I commute more now than I ever did when I actually was working normally. But so it was like an hour to drive out there and an hour to drive back. So we've had a very, very long day today. And then I thought I was going to be meeting these two folks. Again, the one person canceled. So I was like, oh well, I'm not going to be able to do a video. And then I get this whole little email chain from this one person. And again, I'm just sitting there like, how do you think this is acceptable? I don't understand. Again, showing up 15 minutes late is not acceptable, but, you know, we've all been there. Shit happens. It's not acceptable. Don't get me wrong. It's not fucking acceptable. On the other hand, it's not acceptable in that way that we all go like, yeah, I'm fucking pissed off that you're 15 minutes late, but fuck, I've been 15 minutes late before type of deal. But I like to be like, just to send me an email. I'm gonna be there after 7. And it's like, I'm sorry. You know, I hate to be slanderous or whatever to the females out there, but it's really like, I'm sorry, am I your bitch? Am I like, come here, bitch, move? No, I am not your fucking dog. But this is the problem you run into with familiarity. Familiarity breeds contempt with people, and it is something that you have to keep in mind. And one of the reasons why, even on the Fail Normal channel, I'm not going to be nearly as snarky as I was and kind of mean and as I was, I guess I am, on the Eli Computer Guy live channel. But I've actually decided, from my inner Buddhist perspective, that I am going to keep an edge on this channel. Just because I swear to crikey, when you start saying, I love everybody and everybody is wonderful and great, people will take advantage of you and literally not even think twice, but not even say sorry. Not even say, I'll pick up a 12-pack of beer to make it all good, even though I don't drink it anyway. But like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you brought a 12-pack of beer. I mean, I may not drink it, but I'd give it to somebody else. And it would be like, oh, okay, look, it's a 12-pack of microbrew. I appreciate it. But just being like, I'll be there after 7. Like, what is wrong with people? I just don't understand people sometimes. I just really. But that's the thing you have to understand. Like, that's what a lot of people don't understand with bosses and people in authority, is what you don't get is that we all started out much nicer. I told that to my first set of employees when they were walking out the door after everything blew up with my company, with the employees and building and all that. And I was like, I will never treat employees this nice again. At this point, I've realized I don't want employees at all. But it really was a thing. Like, I realized I had treated them so nice, and then I had tried to be so understanding that basically I got walked all over. Because I was sitting there being all stupid, saying, look at how easy it is to make money. All you have to do is these very simple things. And then they came up with all the reasons in the world not to do those simple things, right? And so, like, now, I say, if I did have employees, I mean, I'd just be a hard ass. Not because I necessarily even want to be a hard ass. And that's the thing to understand. It's not that you want to be a hard ass, but if you're not a hard ass, familiarity breeds contempt. And people will just do whatever the hell they think they can do. Again, like I say, for me, because we're leaving out pretty early tomorrow. So this is our last night here in Luray, Virginia, and we're going down to Smoky Mountains, right? And so going down there, it's actually a decent trip. It's gonna be like one of our longest drives. And so we've got to leave out early in the morning, right? I've got to be up at like 5:30 or whatever, hooking all this crap up, getting it all ready for the road, and then I've actually got to drive, and that's after I've had 3 full days of hiking, right? And so like for me, like I just can't. If you show up at 8:30, I just don't have the time and energy to deal with you till 9:30 at night. I just don't. And if somebody would have asked me, I would have said that beforehand. But that's the thing, is people are like, oh yeah, of course there'll be no problem. It's like, fuck you, it will be a problem. Don't fucking show up at 8:30. I never agreed to that. Who the fuck agreed to that? Anyways. But that's why, like I say, bosses and people in authority and all that kind of stuff, that's why they get snarky, and that's why they kind of get nasty, and that's why they stop dealing with whiny ass shit. Because if you deal with whiny ass shit, what you find, what you think when you're dealing with whiny ass shit, oh, this person needs a little help, and so maybe if I bend the rules a little bit for them, it will show them the way, and it will make their life better. No, motherfucker, what's gonna happen is you let somebody show up at 8:30, and the next motherfucker's gonna show up at 9, and the next motherfucker's just gonna walk into the RV park and say, hey, how's that breakfast? I wanna talk to you for an hour, right? And all of a sudden it just goes fucking downhill, right? Anyways, people say that I repeat myself a lot in my videos, which is correct, because I've got to eat up an hour of video every time I do this, but I will repeat this a 1,000 times. Familiarity breeds contempt. Familiarity breeds contempt. So that'll be one of my rules, my 10 rule, my 11 rules, my 11 and a half rules that I have whenever I create my book. Familiarity breeds contempt. So you just don't deal with that crap. Again, like I said, this guy didn't even apologize. Didn't even say I'd bring a beer. Didn't even say could. Hey, I can't make it at 7 o'clock tonight. Can I show up at 8:30? No, motherfucker. Just like, hey, it's me. I'm showing up at 8:30. Bitch, you will perform. Fuck you. This bitch don't perform on command. Anyways, I'm sorry to all the females out there. Unfortunately, like I say, there's some of these words, like don't try to use the word bitch very often. I really don't, because I really do, like, I'm trying to get more than 1% females to watch my videos. And so there are some words that I really understand, different groups find to be insulting. Unfortunately, just so the women out there understand. That's just kind of like, I'm not really quite sure a better word, right, for that specific instance. Right? But alas. So we've been here in Luray, Virginia for a week now. We've done a lot of good hiking. So we've done 4 solid days of hiking. I did realize, I don't know how I didn't realize that math before, but if we spend 7 nights in a place, that means we only actually get 6 days there. So we had 2 down days because we've been doing a lot of hiking and exercising and all that kind of stuff. So I've had 4 good days of hiking here, and I have to say the Shenandoah National Park, absolutely beautiful, absolutely awesome. We were only in this little section, so Skyline Drive is the road that runs through Shenandoah National Park, and it's like 100 miles long. And the speed limit's 35 miles an hour once you get in the park. So we didn't go very far from the entrance, right around where Luray is. I guess Thornton Gap. Anyways, it's about the mile marker, 31.5. So we went in, and we went up to like 20. We went up to like mile marker 20 and mile marker 25 and mile marker something else, and then we went out to Big Rag today. So we only saw this little section, but I do have to say, absolutely amazing, absolutely beautiful. I've talked about that before in the videos, where I'm starting to find the benefit of being a little older now and being a little more experienced. Because I'm from like the East Coast, or I spent a lot of my life on the East Coast. So I've lived in Maryland, I've lived in Virginia, I lived in North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Michigan, West Virginia, Maryland, a few other places. And so for me, like greenery, like grass and green trees and mountains is rather normal. So I had been to Shenandoah National Park in the past. And it was kind of like with Pennsylvania. I was like, oh, look, fucking trees. Ooh, a mountain with trees on it. Guess what? There's a whole state called West Virginia about 30 miles that way. An entire state of that. And so I really didn't give it a lot of appreciation in the past. Because I was always, I think about like going out and adventuring and seeing stuff. I think about the Grand Canyon or Yellowstone or the Hoh Rainforest or, Carlsbad Caverns or something like that. So what's actually kind of cool is now, since last year, since we went out there and we did all of that, I feel like I can come back to these areas that I may not have fully appreciated before and actually be able to fully appreciate it. Because it's not like I'm sitting here in Shenandoah National Park wishing, oh, this is okay, but I really wish I could be in Grand Canyon. I mean, we spent like 10 days in the Grand Canyon last year. And like I say, hopefully once we move into this thing, we'll be spending more time out there. So now I feel like we can go here and we can really see these places. And it's amazing how long you can spend, even in small areas like this. As I say, up in Laurel Highlands, we could have easily spent 2 weeks. Here we could have spent 2 weeks, because we only did 4 hikes, and there's a lot more hikes. And like even just with Shenandoah National Park, we could spend 2 weeks in each section. So it's considered 3 sections. There's like north, central, south section. And so like I say, we just like touched a little bit of the stuff here. So go down. But I do have to say, if you are going to come here and you're going to hike Shenandoah National Park, the one warning that I will give you is, other than Big Rag, which was awesome, got to do Big Rag, is that you do have the whole issue of down is optional, up is not. So I always like, that's a great statement, that's a great quote. And that was from the Grand Canyon. Grand Canyon was gorgeous, but like there, it was really steep. Like there was a lot of steep stuff. But the thing is, since it's the canyon, when you do canyon hiking, the issue is like normally you're used to hiking up mountains. So you hike up mountains, which is hard, and then you come back down, which is easy. So it's harder to get yourself into trouble when you're hiking up a mountain, because if you get too tired, then you stop and you rest, and then you just go down the mountain, which is going to be easier. The issue that you run into in the Grand Canyon is it's really easy to go down. It is really, really easy to go down. And the problem is you get to the bottom and then you realize you're really tired and now you got to go back up. So not only are you tired, but now you got to go back up. So that's where they say down is optional, up is not. And that's kind of what you get here with Shenandoah National Park. And the reason is because you've got Skyline Drive. And so that's basically, it's a highway that runs like along the ridge of the mountains, 100 miles up there. And so what happens is that's up at the top, that's up at the ridge line. And so you get off, you park at the parking spaces there, and so most of the hikes, you then hike down the mountain to see something, and then hike back up. And so again, it's not horrible as long as you understand your condition and what you can do. It's not bad. It is not the way that I prefer to hike, though, because it really is the second half of the hike. You're like, fuck. Like, that's the thing that I like. You get up to the mountaintop, and you see the gorgeous view, and then you stroll down. It's just psychologically harder, especially. When you go down, you see whatever it is, and then, like, the last part is you're slogging up. But you just got to keep that in mind. You just also got to keep in mind here not to be stupid. Like, we saw a lady that broke her ankle. Not yesterday, day before yesterday. So we were doing a 12.5 mile hike, and there was a lady that, they were crossing rocks, and she just slipped and broke her ankle like 3 miles down this trail. So that is one thing you do have to be careful around here. There's a lot of rocks, and there's a lot of uneven terrain. Again, if you're used to it, it's fine. I think probably what happened there is, since this is pretty close to Washington, D.C., it was like an REI adventure. And the issue you get with things like REI adventures, you just get people that aren't used to hiking. That's the whole thing. Like, you know, I'm used to hiking, so why the hell am I gonna pay REI $200 to go on a hike? I'm gonna pay you $200 to guide me on a very well marked hike in a national park. That doesn't make sense. But that is something just to keep in mind if you're not used to going out and exercising, doing that kind of stuff. That can actually be pretty dangerous, like when you go on these REI hikes or whatever, simply because what any normal hiker would consider normal and wouldn't even think twice about. You know, if you just never hike on mountains or whatever, you know, there's little strengths that keep you from breaking your ankle. I don't even want to know what the hell happened to her. They had her all kitted up. They had, I'll give it to REI. They had this whole metal splint thing already around her leg and everything. But I mean, she was like 3 miles down that. And it wasn't like you're 3 miles from Skyline Drive this way, but you're only like half a mile from a road this way. It's like, no, you're... So if she really did break her ankle, that means they would have had to put her in, not a sked, but, basically backboard and all that kind of stuff. And then they would have to hike her ass out. And that would suck. Oh, I would not want to be on that rescue team. That would just be, it wouldn't be that interesting. It would just be tedious and hard. But anyways, one of the interesting things here. But yeah, so we did Big Rag today. With Big Rag, if you want to go there, what I will warn you is make sure to get there early in the morning and try to do it on a weekday, because they actually have a parking lot. It takes you a long time to get there. So with most of the trails, you just get to the trails right off of Skyline Drive. With this one, the entrance is actually outside of the park, and we didn't realize how much farther it was going to be. It ended up being like 20 extra miles. So you go through the park, and then you go down the mountain, and then you go through all these little country roads to get you to this back area. And the thing is, when you get there, there's only so many parking spaces for the trail. And you're not allowed to park anywhere else. If you park anywhere else, you will get towed. And you're in the middle of damn nowhere, so I'm not really sure what the hell happens to you if you get towed. It's not like you're like, oh, I'll get a taxi. Like the cell phone doesn't even work down there. And so one of the reasons why you want to get there early is because you don't want the spaces to be full. Because like if you're on Skyline Drive and a parking lot is full, well, then you just go down to the next parking space and you do whatever hike is there, right? Maybe it's not the perfect hike, maybe it's not exactly what you want to do, but it adds 20 minutes to your, 5, 10, 20 minutes to your drive or whatever, no big deal. The issue there is it's like 20 miles to get to this place, and then there's no other hikes around. So if you drive there and all the spaces are full up, you get screwed. You just wasted, half an hour at least to drive there, and now you got to drive another half an hour at least to somewhere else. All right, so you want to get there early. And the other reason you want to get there early is because it's a pretty technical. It's not horribly technical, but it's tricky. It's tricky. It's not like just a trail. So you go up there to Big Rag, you go 2/3 of the way up, and it's normal hiking, and then the last third, is bouldering, and real bouldering. It's kind of like the adult playground bouldering, where you're going through crevices and you're crawling through things and you're doing kind of stuff, and it's kind of technical to do. And so the issue is, especially with people that aren't used to doing it, is people can really slow down, and so you get like a massive backup, because we had like kids running past us. They were teenagers and they were just like running through the rocks, so we would always scoot to the side and let them pass. But then I looked behind me, and then there was just like a string of like 50 people, and it was all kind of like backed up as people do all these little things. So that's one reason you want to get there early too, so you don't get backed up like that. Because a couple of them, you actually really had to think about it. It wasn't about physical strength to do it, and it wasn't about agility to do it. You're just sitting there like, how the hell am I supposed to get my foot there and my hand there and my ass on something else? But really cool, really, really fun. So definitely something that I would say you folks should think about doing. So with that, I guess we'll get into the main topic of the day, since I've wasted about 24 minutes. I know people are like, Eli, why don't you talk about the main topic of the day initially? Because I got to kind of warm up to it, to be honest with you. There's a whole skill. There's a whole skill involved with yabbering into a video camera for an hour at a time. And so one of the parts is you kind of gotta digest the information before I can go right into it. And the other thing too is I have to say, I know a lot of people don't seem to grasp this concept, but I would actually say all this ancillary information is actually as important as the main topic. I know people don't like to hear that. They're like, no, it's not. But I would argue it is. And I'm the one talking. I'm the guru. I need to get a business card. Eli, the guru guy. That'd be funny. I haven't said that yet. Oh, that was a funny thing too. That was a funny thing being a YouTube star. Everybody laughs at me when I talk about being YouTube famous. Oh, people are on YouTube and they think they're famous. This was the latest one. So we're going up Big Rag, right? We are in the middle of a trail in a national park. I'm hiking up this trail. I'm with my wife. We're huffing and puffing along. These two guys come up behind us, and they're just running, right? And so we get off to the side, and they go running past us. And then one of the guys, they're like running past us, and they're like 10 feet in front of me. And then one of the guys just stops and turns around and looks at me, goes, YouTube, you're Eli the computer guy. I'm like, yes. And so he had his picture taken with me on a trail at a national park. So again, everybody laughs at me. They just laugh their asses off and talk about me being egotistical and arrogant when I talk about being YouTube famous or whatever. And here's the deal. Like, I am on a trail in a national park. Fucking just slogging to the top. It's like, oh, you're Eli the computer guy. I'm like, yes, I'm Eli the computer guy. Get a picture taken. It is kind of funny. It is funny with this whole YouTube fame thing. You think it's a joke. You think it's a joke until you realize it's not. Again, all the different places. And that's one of the weird parts. That's one of the hard parts with being like YouTube famous too, is you actually got to be nice. So for normally I'm all about, be yourself or whatever. But it is one of those things, like when people actually know who you are, you do find yourself in the real world just being slightly nicer. Like I don't flick off cars anymore, motherfucker, right? I don't be too rude out in public anymore, which isn't a bad thing. I mean, I probably shouldn't be rude regardless. But you really take all that down a notch when you really do realize that literally anybody that you're talking to or dealing with literally can know who the hell you are. So anyways, that was a story for today. Yeah, that was a story. Right on the trail, turn around. You're Eli the computer guy. Then he sat there and he had this camera. It was weird. He had this weird ass digital camera that took like 3 minutes to boot up. I was like, what the hell's that about? Oh, but anyways. So I guess the main topic of the day is family and friend denial. And this can be a big issue, right? So I talk about my little mental issues quite a bit. And there's two reasons that I talk about my mental issues quite a bit. The first reason is, well, I guess there's three reasons. One, since I'm an Aspie, I don't really care what other people think about me too much. Like I say, whether you like me, whether you respect me, whether you hate me, don't really care a lot about that. I would appreciate if you support me on Patreon, right? I care about the practical considerations, but not the overarching. Like, my ego isn't involved. Like, if I talk about PTSD, I don't give two shits if you think I'm weak. You know what I'm saying? It's like, why do you have PTSD? It's like, well, do the things that I did, and we'll see how you come out the other fucking side, right? So I talk about like PTSD, or I talk about being an Aspie and all that. And the first reason I do is just because I personally don't, like I say, it doesn't hit my ego the same way as it does a lot of other people. Like I say, there's a lot of people out there. That's a nice thing about being an Aspie, like I say. And especially with the life that I've lived, is there's this whole intuition thing. So intuition is the idea of nonverbal communication between human beings. That sounds awesome. That sounds awesome. Is that magic? That sounds like magic to me. And people laugh when I say it, but it really is true. Like this whole idea of like nonverbal communication just goes over my head. I remember I was watching a Star Trek, The Next Generation TV show once, and there were these aliens that were trying to take over the ship, and then like there was a scene on the bridge, and Captain Picard looks at Riker, and Riker looks at the Klingon, and the Klingon looks at the Diana Troy, and then all of a sudden the force fields go around the aliens, and the aliens like, I don't understand what happened. And Picard just looks at them and goes, we understand each other so well that all it took was a glance of my eyes and they knew what to do. And like other people are like, wow, look at those force fields. I'm like, wow, look at the fact that he could communicate things with just moving his eyes. That sounds amazing, right? And so since I have zero intuition, zero non-verbal communication skills, and with the life I've lived, the nice part is I've learned just not to really care what other people think, especially since it goes over my head anyway. Like people give me they give me the nasty eyeball, and I'm like, oh, is your eye okay? They're like, no, don't you see? I'm giving you the nasty eye, the evil eye. I'm like, oh, your eye's evil? Oh, is there some antibiotic? Right. Anyways, so I've learned just not to care about that too much. So one of the reasons why I talk about it is, no hurt to my ego. What you think about me? The next reason that I talk about it, there's three reasons. Oh, I am tired. I've been doing so much hiking. Anyways, I feel like that Texas governor. There's three agencies I would get rid of. 1, 2, what's the third? Anyways, so the first reason I talk about the stuff is because ego doesn't care. The next reason I talk about the things is because I am now at the level of as a professional that my mental issues do not really matter from a professional aspect, right? So if you're, and this is something just to keep in mind, again, I try to throw it to you straight. Again, I'm 40 years old, 2 months off of being 40 years old. I have a ridiculous amount of education. I have a ridiculous amount of experience, and thankfully that education experience is all in business and technology, plus throw in the ability to do public speaking. So I'm pretty set, right? You know, there's a lot of valuable skill sets to have in the world, and you know, I'm squarely in the middle of a couple of them. And so one of the things you have to think about is when you're younger, like when you're 20. You have to be a little careful about talking about being an Aspie. You have to be a little careful about talking about depression. You have to be a little careful about PTSD. Because frankly, no offense, in the eyes of God, we may all be equal. In the eyes of your boss, they're scared shitless you're going to like just go berserk and shoot everybody in the office, right? And so like when you're 20, you really do have to be careful about talking about mental disabilities and that kind of stuff. Because again, you know, if you go for a job interview and there's 10 people getting interviewed, the reality is, and there's one position open, the reality is 9 people are not going to get hired. One person will get hired and 9 won't. So as long as the person that's doing the interview isn't stupid enough to say the reason we're not going to hire you is because you have chronic depression or something like that, then basically you're just one of the 9 people that didn't get hired. They sit there and they interview 10 people. You say, well, one of my greatest weaknesses is that I have chronic depression. Ah! No! Danger, Will Robinson, danger. Shut the fuck up, right? Because you say that and they're like, oh, well, it's good you're so honest about those things. Thunk goes the resume in the trash can, right? Because essentially when you're 20 years old, unless you've been doing programming since you were 13 and you're like, you know, the next Bill Gates, the reality is you're pretty worthless. I hate to say again, in the eyes of God, you know, we're all equal. In the eyes of the boss, right, you know, all 20-year-olds, look equal too, right? And so they're just trying to find the best 20-year-old. So you got to keep your, I would argue, you keep your mouth shut when you're younger about things like mental issues, just because they can affect you in weird ways. Again, that's one of the things, like, as I talk about, people aren't honest. People are not forthright. They just aren't. They just aren't. And so they will come to decisions about you. They will make up stories about you based off of what they know. And so if you give them that rope to hang yourself with, they'll hang you high. You know what I'm saying? So for me, though, being almost 40 with my experience, the reality is anybody, hopefully I never have to get hired again, but the reality is anybody that would hire me, they are going to hire me as the full package. Like INE hired me to do the interview stuff, other companies that would hire me. When you hire somebody like me, you are hiring the full package. And so, yes, you get all the training and this and that and the other thing, and you get the ASPE. Right? But again, once you get to a certain level, people shrug off the whole ASPE thing because again, well, look, the guy's done 2,000 videos on YouTube. He's done all this stuff. Yeah, ASPEs can be a little bit annoying, and they can be blunt. But is blunt necessarily a bad thing, right? So the second reason I can talk about is, again, like I say, professionally for me, it just doesn't matter one iota. The mental issues that I have squarely fit, again, into the profession, the characteristics of the profession I'm in. Again, I'm pretty stable with it. A lot of people don't even realize I have the issue unless I bring it up or unless I really get stressed out, so it's no big deal. And then the third reason that I talk about it is because I have seen, dealing with a lot of people, that I think I know a lot of people have mental issues. I know a tremendous amount of people have mental issues. And as I always say, here's a big thing in life, right? It's not about what issue you have now. Everybody has issues right now. That's not really the important thing. The important thing is, how are you going to solve the problem? How do you solve the problem? So you have depression, you have manic depression, you have OCD, you have whatever the fuck else you have, right? You have PTSD, you have these issues, right? Again, whatever, those are the issues that you have. No harm, no foul. It's not good, not bad either. It's not, again, everybody tries to turn it into something, right? Oh, no, it's just a fact. Some people are tall, some people are short. Right? And so what I found in life is that if people are willing to be honest with themselves, as I talk about, and be able to confront the problems that they have, that they see, then they can solve those problems. Right? Again, if you have depression, there's ways to deal with it. Again, I know a lot of people have depression, and I know a lot of people that have gone past it. I ain't saying it's easy. I ain't saying it's, but you can get past it. Again, as I say, thinking that something will take a decade to get over may seem almost insurmountable. But the reality is, if you're 25 and somebody says by 35 you can be past this, then if you have a normal American life expectancy, that means you have at least 35 or maybe 45 healthy years of life. So yes, 10 years to get over depression, which really can't take that long. Yes, I mean, you may not want to have to start down that road, but you think about it, then by the time you're 35, if you're stable, then you've got 36, 37, 38, 49, 59, right, to be normal. And so the big issue that I see with a lot of these mental issues is that people are not willing to be honest about it, at least to themselves. And again, I'm not necessarily telling you to be honest with your boss. Again, a lot of people get confused, right? There's honest and then there's fucking stupid. I'm not telling you to be fucking stupid. I'm telling you to be honest. Again, be honest with yourself and be honest with the people that can support you and try to get past where you are, right? And so I see a lot of people, they don't even want to admit these issues to themselves. They don't want to admit that they have a problem, that they need to work on it, because there is so much stigma attached to these issues. Again, like I say with PTSD, one of the problems that I see with PTSD is real. PTSD is brutally real. It fucking sucks. But one of the issues you run into with PTSD is PTSD. People have different thresholds before they get hit with PTSD. I mean, some people have to be a nasty ass, horrible, god awful violence, seeing people get ripped to shreds in order to get PTSD. And other people don't have to go that physically extreme. Again, they may have had an abusive childhood or something like that. And so the issue that you run into is PTSD is real regardless. Whether your mom screamed at you too much as a kid, and that's why you have PTSD, or whether you saw, your platoon get shredded by an IED in front of you, it's still PTSD. Again, there's levels of PTSD, but it's still PTSD, right? And so one of the issues that you run into is like I say, somebody that's abused as a kid and has PTSD, one of the things is they're like, well, but I shouldn't have PTSD. I can't have PTSD because look, that soldier coming back from Afghanistan that saw his team get shredded in front of him, obviously he can have PTSD. But how can I have PTSD if the worst thing that ever happened to me is my mom screamed at me or something? And the issue is that's fucking not how it works. God damn it, you stupid bastards. And so basically one of the third reason that I talk about it is because I feel that since I'm in the position where it really doesn't matter that I can talk about it, is that if I bring this up and I put this into the dialogue, then more people can feel comfortable about confronting these issues within themselves and then start to deal with the problem. Again, depression is real. Lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of people have depression, but people don't want to talk about it, right? Manic depression, all this kind of stuff, but people don't want to talk about it. And so if you're not willing to talk about it, if you're not willing to confront it at all, then you're not going to be able to solve the problem. And again, like I say with depression, what do you want? Do you want 10 difficult years to solve so you can get past depression? Or do you never want to work on it at all and have, 65 years of continuing down the path you're on, right? So that's the third reason I talk about it. Since I can't talk about it, try to bring it up so everybody feels more comfortable and all that. And so talking about all this kind of stuff, one of the interesting things that came up is somebody sent me an email, a long little email. It was asking, how do you deal with family and friends that are in denial about you having mental issues? And this can be a huge problem. And again, it's one of those things that don't get talked about because none of us want to talk about mental issues. And so since we don't want to talk about mental issues, then we don't talk about the practical issues. Practical issues around mental issues, right? And so one of the problems you run into is when you find out that you have mental issues, when you find out that you have a problem, it's got to feel really good. Let me tell you, when I realized I had Asperger's, that felt great, right? Because I was wandering around, I was having all these weird ass issues. Like I say, I was just sitting there like, I don't understand. The world is so fucking, again, like I say, for me with Asperger's, the world is simple. It is so simple. Because again, I don't get the social cues all of you folks get, right? Most of you folks get. So like when people look at me with the evil eye, it goes right over my head, right? So I can look at the world, I can say, this is what I want, this is what I need to do to get it, and then just go and do it, right? And not even think twice about it. Again, like I walk around with orange shirts and frickin', sandals with socks and all that kind of stuff. And I don't care what anybody thinks. Oh, you think socks and sandals is stupid? Well, let me tell you, my friend, you obviously have not worn socks or sandals. Because as soon as you put socks and sandals on, you're going to be like, oh, my feet are in heaven. Heaven, right? And so for me, since I don't get all the normal social cues, I walk around with socks and sandals and then wonder why everybody treats me really weird, right? And so like when I found out I had Asperger's, I was like, yes, this is great. Because again, when you know you have an issue, like when you can stop worrying about trying to figure out why you're different, right? I mean, that was a big thing, right? So I'm sitting there, I'm doing the business stuff, I'm dealing with people, and I just don't understand why we can't communicate. I think it's dirt simple. I think it is dirt simple. I think a 3-year-old should be able to understand what's going on. And instead, everybody I'm dealing with, is like, I don't know, has like soap opera issues. Like, I don't get it. And so knowing that I have Asperger's, it just makes a lot of sense. It's like, oh, these are the criteria, all that for Asperger's. It's not an actual mental disorder. I mean, that was the first thing. It's like, okay, mental disorder. Do I get a pill? Can I have a pill for that? Or actually, for me, I'm like, can you give them pills? How about, I don't want to be normal. How about we turn them into Aspies? World will be a nicer place. All you motherfuckers are Aspies. Anyways, it's kind of weird. Like I said, I'm sure typical people are sitting there going, what? Wait a minute, no, but Aspies are the egotistical, arrogant, brutal people. It's like, yeah, no, you ain't dealt with normal people if you think that, right? But the thing is, say you figure out you've got whatever issues you have, and then you're like, yay, I know I have these issues. And then you go out and you start talking to people because you have the issues, and so you're like, this is great. I know what the problem is. Now I just, I've got to figure out some coping mechanisms and all that kind of stuff. But this is great. And so the first thing I want to do is tell my friends and my family that are close to me, because I found the issue. I found where things have been creating problems and all that. And so now that I know this, if I know I have Asperger's, I can try to blunt my edges. Since I now realize I have edges I didn't realize I had before. I just thought I was being normal, but now I realize, oh, my normal ain't your normal. So I'll try to blunt again. It's just kind of like being polite. You know what I'm saying? You don't walk up to a woman and call her fat. Really? Why not? But she's obviously obese. Eli, don't fucking call people fat. Okay, apparently you people don't want that. I won't do that anymore, right? And so it's like, okay, so I blunt my edges. So now that I know what I think should be pretty normal, you don't, and you never will. And you never will. Right? Okay, fine, fair enough. But as I try to blunt my edges, I will tell these folks around me about this and what it means, so that if my edges aren't quite blunt enough, you realize that I am trying to get along, and you can blunt your edges too, right? Because that's the whole thing. That's a neurotypical. It's like, that's the thing with typical and normal people, neurotypical, is they're all about how you need to change to conform to them. And I'm kind of like, I need to conform a little more socially to deal with you folks. But on the other hand, you guys need to like pull that pole out of your ass and start to conform to other people too. I mean, because again, I have Asperger's, that person has depression, that person has OCD, if you walk around thinking that anybody who's not completely 100% down the line normal is a reject, there's a lot of people you're not going to deal with. So again, I'm going to blunt my edges. Since we know about it, you can blunt your edges too, and we can kind of come together. But one of the issues that you run into, and that's what I found with Asperger's, is that people argue with you about it. Again, I find like that's with everything. I don't know what it is. Like every time I found like some weird little quirk with me, like people argue with me. So like when I had Asperger's, like with my wife, and I love my wife, first thing she said is, no, you don't. Like, motherfucker. Like, look, yay, no, you don't, right? And one of the things that you find is that your family, your friends, all of that thing, the first thing that they're going to do is they are going to go into denial about whatever issue you have. Like what you think is, oh, I have this issue. I'm going to go to these people that care about me. I'm going to tell them about the issue, and we're all going to come together in a nice group hug. And what really happens is you tell them, and then they all tell you why you don't actually have what it is you now know you have. It's like, and that's the thing. It's not even like, oh, you find this out, and the psychologist or whatever gives you the shade. It's like, oh, you find it out, and now your entire life makes sense. And so what you find is you go, and most of the people will be in denial, and they'll start telling you all the reasons why you don't have all those things that you know for a fact that you do. One, I got the piece of paper. I got tested for it. And two, it all, it makes like 3 decades of your life make sense. And the reason that they'll deny that you're having these issues is a fewfold. The first is we have this absurd idea of normal, especially in the American society. We have an infatuation with the concept of normal. Normal is right. Normal is good. Normal is godly. Anything not normal is an aberration, right? And so when you come back and you say that you're not normal, they fear for you. My boy, I fear for your soul. Because if you are not normal, that means you are an abomination. And what will happen to your soul, right? I mean, you laugh, you think that's stupid, but it really is kind of true, right? And so the first thing that they try to do is they try to convince you you don't have these things because they don't want you to feel abnormal. They don't want you to feel that you are different. You are different than everybody else. But you're like, but I am different than everybody. No, you're not. No, I am. Look, I have this. I have this. It makes 30 years of my life make a hell of a lot of sense. I know I got it, right? No, you don't. No, you don't, right? And you'll go. And the first thing that you'll find out, all these people that care about you, is that they will deny that you have the issue because they don't want to think that you're abnormal. Because again, abnormal is an abomination under the spaghetti monster. The spaghetti monster will rip your soul from your body if you are not normal, right? And so this is the first thing that can be very, very difficult as you go around because people just say that you don't because they don't want to think of you that way. And they don't want you to think of you that way, right? Because everybody's special. Yeah, right? The next thing is one of the problems that you run into, too, is with this whole normal issue, is, again, when you walk around, what you're going to find out is you're probably a lot like your family members. And you're probably a lot like your close friends. Now, here's the thing, right? If they are horrified at the thought of you being an abomination in the eyes of the spaghetti monster because you are different, and they want to save you. No, you are normal. Think about how utterly petrified they are that they might be like you. Right? Because if you go to parents, again, you're the product of them. Nurture, nature, whether it's 50%, 70%, who the hell knows, right? You're the product of them. And so if you've got issues, if you've got depression, if you've got Asperger's, if you've got any of these other things, again, one of the things people don't realize is people like your parents are people too. Yeah. In fact, they are real human beings, right? And so the issue is you go to them and you say, I have this problem. One of the things that they're doing is they're trying to convince you that you're normal because they don't want you to be an abomination under the eyes of the spaghetti monster. But the other thing that they're absolutely horrified by is what if they are an abomination under the eyes of the spaghetti monster, right? Because they don't want to go to hell. They don't want to be sinners, right? And so that's one of the big issues that you don't realize is you go and you are so relieved. You are so thankful that you found out your problems, and then you go start talking to all these people that you care about. And the issue is they've got a lot of the exact same problems you do. It may not be 100% the same, but maybe 80% or 90%. And they have spent all of their lives convincing themselves that they are normal. Again, we fetishize the concept of normal. Normal is good, normal is pure, normal is proper, normal is holy. The spaghetti monster shines upon those that are normal, and so by golly, I will be normal. Yeah, but you're not normal. Are you normal? You're not normal. Right? And so you go to them, and so the next reason that they start denying that you have these issues is because if you are a mirror of them, then they start worrying about all of the issues. Oh my God, what if I have Asperger's then? And again, I would argue as an Asperger, yay! Look, I found out I have Asperger's, and you found out you had Asperger's, yay! Right? I think it's a good thing. Yeah. It's not. People lose their fucking mind. So the next reason why they'll deny is because of that. And the final reason that they'll deny a lot of times is because, again, they're worried about things like the social repercussions. Well, if you have this, what does it mean? Well, if you have depression, you can't be a doctor, right? Or if you have Asperger's, right? People get in their heads these ideas of what these things are, and then they're so horrified that you'll fall into that mold. So, like somebody was saying that, like with Asperger's. They found out they had Asperger's, like everybody said, oh, like Rain Man. Like, oh my Christ. I mean, that's autistic. Is that Asperger's? But it's like, and so again, people will, well, no, you don't have that because you're not like Rain Man. I'm like, motherfucker. there's a lot of variation, on the spectrum. That's pretty far down the spectrum, right? And so they're worried about that kind of thing, and you melt it. And so that's one of the big hard problems you can run into is when you figure out you have mental issues, or when you figure out you have any other issues, is that the people that you care about will, to your face, deny what you know to be true, when you know in your heart of hearts to be true. Like I say, you get that diagnosis and you're just like, holy shit, 30 years of life. Makes sense. It's like, just that little light bulb goes off in your head and you're like, remember when I was 7? And yeah, now I get it. Remember when I was 14? Yeah, now I get that. Oh yeah. Remember that really cute girl? And she kept bugging me when I was 16 years old, and I couldn't really understand why she was bugging me. I wish I had intuition. You know what I'm saying, right? But again, they'll start to not. And so that can be a very, very painful thing for you as you try to figure out what to do next. Because you know you have this issue, and then you go out there, try to talk to people to get that whole support group thing going. Things can go downhill rather quickly. My advice for it is, one, the big advice that I would have, and again, my 11 and a half rules to living, is fucking own it, right? The first thing is to own it. Again, it's kind of like that 10-year thing. It may suck for a while, but the best thing is if you own your issues and you know that you have it and you own it, then you can figure out what to do next. The worst thing in the world is to figure out that you have a problem, you figure out you have an issue, and then close down again. So I know I have Asperger's, but I'm not going to admit it. I know I have PTSD, but I'm not going to admit it. That is like the worst thing ever, because that just compartmentalizes everything, and that just turns you into a wreck. So the first thing is at least for yourself, own it. Even if you don't tell anybody else, look in the mirror in the morning and say, I have PTSD. When you wake up at night and your fucking mattress is soaked with sweat to the point it's like squishy, and you're like, what the hell? Wake up, look in the mirror and say, I have PTSD. This is one of the weird fucking signs of PTSD. That is what's going on. Because the more you own it, the more you take hold of it, the more you can then start trying to figure out ways to solve the problems. The more you can start trying to figure out ways to get past it. Because again, if you don't accept it, then there's no way to get past it. You just compartmentalize it. You keep spinning around in circles. So the first thing that I would say is own it. The next thing that I would say is, past owning it, is when you start talking to people about it, find the people that you actually can trust. Again, may not be your mom, may not be your dad, may not be your best friend even. Again, people are good in roles. It's kind of like Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton I thought was a pretty good president. I liked him as a president. He's a complete bastard as a man. He's a complete womanizing piece of shit, right? But again, I liked him as president. Good president, and a womanizing piece of shit. Not a piece of shit, not a good person. Good president, womanizing piece of shit. They can be both in the same, right? And so one of the problems is, people have this idea of my best friend or my parents. And again, you don't think of your parents being real human beings. You don't think about your best friend being a real human being. So you go to them and you unload, and you don't think about what's actually going to get triggered, how that's going to work out. So what I would argue is when you start talking with the people and trying to find support and all that kind of stuff, go to the people that are most likely to be willing to talk to you and actually most likely willing to support you. So again, you think about your mom, your dad, your brother, your sister. What you may find out is your cousin or your uncle or something. So again, let's say you have PTSD or something, and then you realize that, your first cousin, second removed, or God knows what, served in the first Gulf War. Again, normally you probably want to have a conversation with that person. Normally, Normally, you probably see them at Thanksgiving or Christmas or whatever, say hi, talk about the latest car or whatever. That's it. But now's the time as you go up to them and say, hey, or her, hey, I know you so often served in the Gulf War and all that kind of stuff. Do you have any experience with PTSD? I found out I'm dealing with some of this stuff, and I know we don't normally talk a lot, but I know with your experience and all that, I just thought, maybe we could have a conversation, right? And that's the first thing that I would do, is I would go and I would find the people that are most likely to actually be supportive of you. And again, like I say, they're not necessarily the people you think. Again, it's not your mom, dad, brothers and sisters, maybe that, cousin, fifth cousin, second removed, or whatever the hell else. And then after that, I would just be very, very slow about bringing it up. And again, bring it up to people as you need to bring it up to people, and then realize that they'll push back. And they'll probably push back for about 6 months. I don't know what it is. Again, humans are very weird. If I understood humans, actually, I'm doing pretty well in life. It's like, if I understood humans, it's like, well, no, actually, I'm doing pretty well in life. So maybe not understanding humans is the way to go. But anyway, you just realize that it will take them a while to come around. And so what you have to understand is when you're talking to your friends and family, this is fucked up. You want to talk about fucked up? You want to talk about what's fucked up as humans? When you're talking to friends and family about the issues that are ripping your life apart, you're gonna have to be gentle with them. Yeah. You're like, what? Wait a minute. But it's true, right? So you've got these issues, and the reality is the lesson you learn in life, the hard way, is the gentler you are bringing it up to them, and the gentler you are getting them to understand all the things going on, the quicker it will be for them to be able to come around and actually see what's going on with you so that they can actually be supportive. Again, what we really want in life is to just be able to go to those people that are supposed to be our support mechanism, drop this bomb on them, and now get all the love and affection and attention that we think we deserve. What really happens is you drop the bomb on them, and oh my golly, just all kinds of insane hell breaks loose. And you're sitting there and you're like, wait a minute. So not only do I have these mental issues, but everybody's also pissed at me and telling me I'm wrong and denying the thing. I don't know what's going on, right? So you go to those people and you're just slow about bringing it up. And then the final thing is again, with all these people with denial and all that kind of stuff, is the people that won't come on board or that do act like complete assholes, is again, as I talk about in life, part of conversations and part of controlling your life is both trying to keep the conversation going with many people, but also cutting it off with other assholes, right? Again, like I say with this Asperger's thing, I mean, I dealt with a few people, and again, professionally, I was absolutely appalled by what some people were willing to say in public about me. And it was just like, you're fucking done, hobbit-ass motherfucker. Anyways. The Hobbit. Fuck you, you hobbit-ass son of a bitch. But anyways, and that's the thing, is you will realize that some people will not be able to get on board. Some people will not be able to deal with it. And so again, part of life is telling people to go. One of the business topics we'll talk about later is one of the best quotes I ever heard in my life is I have a friend of mine who runs a business, and he talks about that, where the people to get you to where you are not necessarily the people to get you to where you're going. And so that's one of the things to realize is again, you may have people and they're all gung-ho into something, and then you realize that what they do, how they interact with you, all of that kind of stuff is very detrimental to your health. You go to them, you try to talk them through all of this. They say, no, you don't have this. No, I don't believe it. You can't do anything to make me believe you're like that. You're like, oh, I can't do anything in the world to make it. No, I'll never believe it. Great. I'll see you in 20 years. Right. I'd go from there. So that would be my thought on the subject. Because again, I've dealt with some of it. And again, like I say, it's funny. It's like funny how much, like I say, denial. And they're just like, no. It's like, son of a bitch. It's like, that's the thing, like, because like I say, for me, like I say, I'm rather honest. Again, I'm melodramatic sometimes, but I honestly believe in my heart of hearts that exaggeration is a lie. It's like one of those little tips my father gave me a long time ago. It's like, lying is bad and exaggeration is a lie. And it really is true, because again, the more you exaggerate things, right. So I get melodramatic about stuff, but I genuinely, my heart of hearts, I do not try to exaggerate. And especially for me, what I found is whenever I do lie or try to exaggerate, it always bites me in the ass anyway. I'm just not a good liar. Maybe that's my problem. Maybe it's not that I really believe that lying or exaggeration is bad. I just know I'm so bad at it that I will get caught in it. And therefore, if you know you're going to get caught in something, don't do it, right? But anyways, but you don't know, like, how many times, I've sat there and I've talked with people, and I'll just be piss-ass blunt, and they would just look back at me like, no. You're like, what the fuck? You know what? Out of all the answers you're allowed, no is not one of them. No is not one of the things I will accept from you. But no is many times what people say. So that would be my thought on the issue. Denial sucks. Again, I think like with all stuff in life, the more you understand reality and how it works, the easier it'll be to deal with. So if you understand that your family members and the people that are closest to you are the ones that are most likely going to deny you're having the issues you're quite obviously having, then you can figure out what to do next. Again, whether it's to go see a counselor, whether it's to pay a therapist, whether it's to pay that fifth cousin, third removed, or whatever the hell they are. If you know that you're going to run into issues, then you can figure out how to deal with it. Because again, I mean, that's the whole thing, A lot of people, people have these mental images of themselves. I am this. And a lot of times the mental images have nothing to do with reality. Nothing to do with reality. It might as well be a comic book as far as reality is concerned. But the issue is, again, like if you find out you have Asperger's, or you find out you have manic depression, or you find out you have what the hell ever, right? Then the issue is then when you tell the person, then they may have a lot of those same things, and then they start pushing back. Or the issue you run into is like, let's say you have PTSD, right? Let's say you have PTSD, and it is from, some parent screaming at you. And so that parent is now out, divorce or whatever they're out of. Well, you go to the other parent, you're like, I found, PTSD from, when dad or mom or whoever screamed at me. Well, a lot of times you'll get a pushback because they don't want to believe they would have put you into an environment that could have been so detrimental to you that you got PTSD. They will just simply not accept it. And then you're like, but, God damn it, right? So again, these are the things to think about. Friends, family, and all that may deny it. If you understand it, it'll be easier. Find the people that you can talk to. Find the people that will support you, and go from there. Right? That would be my thought. But remember, other people are humans too. I think that's a big thing. Like again, that's a thing that really pisses me off with depressed people. Why I would argue most depressed people can go fuck themselves. And I know I'm not supposed to say that, but damn it, I have Asperger's. I have Asperger's. I have Asperger's. Depressed people can go fuck themselves. Right? But the reason that I say that is, like I say, depressed people I found can be some of the most egotistic, just self-centered, not egotistical, self-centered bastards you've ever met in their life. And it's so weird, like with depression, because they talk about how miserable they are and how horrible the world is. So you wouldn't think that they're self-centered. But they are self-centered because all they focus on, why it's so horrible and why everything is because they're so internally focused on themselves. They don't pay attention to anybody else. They don't pay attention to anything else. And so that's one of the issues you can run into, especially, like I say, with depressed people, is people find out they're depressed, and then now they have this thing to grasp onto, and then they want to tell everybody else in the world that they're depressed. And then, like I say, they go out there to find people to support them. And like I say, they're not thinking about how that affects other people. They're not thinking about all of these, what are the ramifications. You're talking to other people, how does that affect them? How does it affect the rest of the world? Because they're so self-centered. And again, like I say, you can spin off and you can have a lot of bad problems. Because again, like I say, like with depressed people, I just see it a lot. Depressed people, it's sad. I mean, it's sad. I mean, just because they can go fuck themselves doesn't mean they shouldn't get help. But it is because, especially because if you have somebody that gets depressed and then they get diagnosed with depressed, then they start saying, so many times you see where they start saying, look, I am depressed. I am diagnosed as depressed. Therefore, you need to support me. You need to help me. You need to provide X, Y, or Z. And then it gets even worse because, again, I've talked about that before with like depression. There's chemical depression, and then there's what I would call more like existential depression. So again, I talked about being depressed like about a year and a half ago, right? So, you know, my wife had just had 2 cancers. We had gotten through that. Then we found out, you know, kids were off the table, and then one of our dogs died. And then like a week later, 2 weeks later, we found out the other dog had cancer. And it wasn't chemically depressed. It wasn't like one of those things, oh, how am I going to live? It's just like, God damn, spaghetti monster, would you lay the fuck off? I get it. I understand how powerless I am in the world. Could you back off a little bit? On top of like a crap load of people died. There's like 6 people that died in like 2 years. Just like, and so again, that's where, but it was just life depression, right? And so that's one of the issues like with depressed people can run into is they're chemically depressed. They're chemically depressed. They really got issues. They've got something that they have to work through on a chemical level. But then they become so needy, and especially once they get that diagnosis, they start telling what everybody else needs to do. Everybody else is like, look, I got a life. I mean, I'll help you a little bit, but you're not the center of the world, whatever you may think. And then those people start moving away. They start pushing back. And then not only, like I say, with depressed people, not only then do you have the chemical depression, but then you actually have your friends and family and all that kind of stuff, like trying to get the fuck away from you because you're trying to get too much out of them. And then you just get what any normal person would have, depression. Again, if all of your friends left you, it's not a chemical imbalance to be depressed at that point. You know what I'm saying? And so that's the kind of thing to think about. So you get the diagnosis and you start to think, how will it affect other people when I bring this up, when I start talking about this? So again, I would go and I would talk to the people that are most likely to associate with you and be able to help you, and then go out from there. Because if you drop the bomb on everybody, again, first, we started out with the chemical issue. Then you created the real physical world issue. Then it's, again, like I say, as if all of your friends and family basically leave you or whatever. Then that just makes it even, harder, right? But anyways, that would be my thought. That would be my thought for the day. Oh, Shenandoah National Park. Feeling good now. I'm feeling good as I've been talking about these other videos. This is what I was talking about a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, when I was all cocky and egotistical talking about how good it was to be a content creator. This is what I'm talking about, damn it. So it's been a good time here. So we'll be going down to the Smoky Mountains tomorrow, and we'll be there for a week, and then we'll head back to Maryland, and we'll be in Maryland. We may actually not be in Maryland that long. My wife has something she has to go to. So we may be in Maryland only about 2 weeks. And then we will be off to the Adirondacks. And we have to figure it out. Because again, at first we thought maybe a week's too long. It was like, we figured with this trip, okay, we'll be at places a week. But there was a little concern, maybe a week, But now that we've been here, we realize a week actually isn't long enough. We kind of have to figure out that with the next part of the trip. Because we'll be gone, I don't know, from July, middle into July, all the way into September. So probably about a month and a half to 2 months. And so originally the idea was that would be like, if it's 8 weeks, that would be 8 places. But now that we're realizing, I don't know, maybe we need to back off on that. Maybe instead of being a different place every week, maybe we need to stay at places 2 weeks. So I don't know. So anybody who wants to do the whole Silicon Discourse thing, meet with me. Again, like I say, we'll be in Smoky Mountains tomorrow. Well, my tomorrow. Who the hell knows what it is to you. And then we'll be going up to the Adirondacks. So I know we're going to be doing the Adirondacks. They're kind of like the northeast is where we'll be from July to September. And then we'll go from there. Last time my wife and I, again, that thing over there, That literally has a square footage of like our dining room. Well, maybe not our dining room. Definitely our master bedroom. Our master bedroom is bigger than that whole thing. And I have to tell you, I know I've said it a lot of times, but just something to keep in mind is this is a hell of a lot nicer than that big. It really is. You're like, I want the big house and I want all the fancy stuff. And it's like, no, I don't. I do wish I had better internet connection. I will tell you, hands down, wish I had better internet connection. But that's about the only thing I can quibble about. So anyways, with that, I will call it a night because we're at an hour and 14 minutes. And yeah, see you guys in the next video. Guys, girls, Z's, and lady boys in the next video.